Pharmacist Ben, how did you transition from dispensing pharmaceutical drugs to dispensing nutrition?
I get asked this question a lot. How did I transition, or why am I working with nutritional supplements when I'm a pharmacist? I should be working with medications. So here's the way I look at it. Drug companies spend billions of dollars, tens of billions of dollars every year trying to find molecules that will create some kind of change in the body without having any toxicity or side effects, or having reduced or mitigated toxicity or side effects. So if you go to the pharmacy today, you walk into an everyday pharmacy, you'll see tons of drugs, all of which have potency. In other words, they have an effect on biochemistry, but all of which have toxicity and side effects. So while drug companies spend all this money trying to find molecules that have pharmaceutical or medicinal benefits without toxicity or side effects, or with reduced toxicity or side effects, God beat them to it. The divine force beat them to it. Nature beat them to it. Nutrition is exactly what drug companies are looking for. Nutrients, that is, or exactly what drug companies are looking for. And I tell this joke sometimes, somebody made a meme out of it. I say, nutrients are what drugs dream they could be. When prednisone goes to bed at night and has a dream, it dreams it was vitamin C. Why? Because nutrients are nature's medicine. They're the perfect medicine. For one thing, the body evolved with nutrients. Cells evolved with nutrients. Cell is about 3.5 billion years old, the eukaryotic cell, something along those lines. And in those 3.5 billion years, this cell has figured out what molecules it needs in order to run itself efficiently. And those molecules that it needs are basically what we call nutrients. And a subclass of the nutrients are the essential nutrients, which are nutrients the body can't make, but yet cells need. Obviously, these are going to be important. You can't run biochemistry. A cell can't run effective biochemistry without 90 essential nutrients. By essential, we mean they're like air. Without them, you die. Just like air is essential. Without air, you die. Without these essential nutrients, you die. What's more, these essential nutrients, because the body evolved with them and the cells evolved with these essential nutrients, are completely non-toxic. So number one, they do everything a drug can do with no toxicity. Number two, the body evolved with them, so the body knows cells evolved with them, so cells know how to use these materials. And number three, when we have a disease state, more often than not, it's because some kind of nutrient is not being processed or not being used correctly or not present. You can't say the same about drugs. Heart disease is not a beta blocker deficiency. ADD is not a Ritalin deficiency. High blood pressure is not a calcium channel blocker deficiency. But vitamin C deficiencies is often involved with degenerative diseases. Likewise, essential fatty acid deficiencies. Likewise, zinc deficiencies. Likewise, selenium deficiencies. So on the one hand, you got nutrient versus drugs, and nutrients are non-toxic and drugs are toxic. Nutrients evolved with the cell knows how to use them. Not so about drugs. And disease states more often than not involve some kind of deficiency or a poor processing of a nutrient. So why wouldn't I work with nutrients? See, pharmacy today is associated with medication in the sense that when we think of the pharmacist, we think of pharmaceuticals. Pharmaceuticals have only been around for about 150 years, 160 years or so, since the middle of the 19th century. Before pharmaceuticals, there were still pharmacists, but they didn't use pharmaceuticals. They used herbs. They used food. They used various kinds of homeopathic plant materials. Before pharmaceuticals, there was still pharmacy, but they didn't use drugs. Drugs are a recent phenomena. And because of tremendous marketing, we now, 6, 7, 8 generations later, we now associate medicine with drugs. When for most of recorded history, there were no drugs. It was all herbs and plants and food. In fact, Hippocrates famously said, "Let food be thy medicine, and let medicine be thy food." In other words, and Steve Jobs said, if your food isn't your medicine will be your food, which is a little bit more dramatic, but it's the same point. Food and nutrients being the active ingredients in food make the best medicine. This is the Hippocratic Oath, by the way. This is one of the most salient parts of the Hippocratic Oath, which I find one of the most important parts of the Hippocratic Oath. Quote, "I will use those dietary regimens which will benefit my patients according to my greatest ability and judgment, and I will do no harm or injustice to them," meaning the patients. This is the best part. "Neither will I administer a poison to anybody when asked to do so, nor will I suggest such a course." It's right out of the Hippocratic Oath. Now, I don't believe medical students still say the Hippocratic Oath, but for many years, for probably a couple thousand years, when doctors graduated medical school, they would swear the Hippocratic Oath to do no harm. not to administer poison. So it just makes perfect sense to me to be a nutritional pharmacist, because my mission in life is to help people by using molecules that come from the outside of the body and interact with the inside of the body to create a change. Typically, those molecules are drugs, but those all have side effects. Those all have adverse reactions. Those all have a toxicity that mandates detoxification by the body's detoxification system in the liver, which requires copper and zinc and vitamin C and magnesium and various nutrients that will now be expended to detoxify the medication. So not only do drugs not give you nutrients, they deplete your body of nutrients. So for all these reasons, it makes perfect sense to me to be a nutritional pharmacist. So when I graduated pharmacy school and went out to work in drugstores, I had always been hip to nutrition because in pharmacy school, we study nutrition. But we don't study nutrition like a dietitian studies nutrition. We don't study nutrition like a doctor studies nutrition or like a chef studies nutrition or a nurse studies nutrition. We study nutrition like a pharmacist because we're pharmacists to be. What does that mean? We study the therapeutic value of nutrients. We study the medicinal value of vitamins and minerals and amino acids and fatty acids. And we study deficiency diseases as illnesses and pathologies that are caused by deficiencies in nutrients. Now, on top of all that, I was an athlete when I was in pharmacy school, and I was very aware of nutrients for performance. All athletes know about using nutrients for performance. So I learned about medicine, or learned about nutrients from a medicinal standpoint. I learned about nutrients as an athlete from my own personal life. And when I graduated pharmacy school and went to work in drugstores, I started suggesting that people use nutrients with their medication. So people come in for their nifedipine, for their calcium channel blocker for their heart. I say, hey, magnesium is nature's natural calcium channel blocker. Maybe you want some magnesium with that calcium channel blocker. Or they come in for their Indoral or propranolol with beta blocker for their blood pressure. I say, hey, maybe you want some B vitamins with that beta blocker. Well, the B vitamins also have vasodilating blood antihypertensive properties. They may support your medication. Or they would come in for their antibiotics. I suggest vitamin C to go with their antibiotics. Or they have acne. I suggest some zinc or some probiotics to go with their acne. So I had this idea to suggest nutritional supplements to help people with their medication, to help their medication more effectively, to help them with their health challenges. And lo and behold, people got better. They got to better results for their medication. They got to wean themselves off their medication or at least take lower doses of their medication. This is a very important point, by the way. If you're on medication now, you should understand that while a common question is, will those nutrients interfere with my drugs? And a common belief of medical professionals is that you don't want to take supplements when you're taking your medication because they'll interfere. I always find ironic. As it turns out, nutrients will support your medications. So if you have high blood pressure, and you take a beta blocker, and you take a B100 or Beyond Tangy Tangerine, which is my favorite B complex drink. It has a lot more than that, but it has a lot of B complex in there. It'll help your antihypertensive drug work more effectively. And so this is what I started to do in the pharmacy setting, and people come back and they go, oh my gosh, Ben, my blood pressure is really is lower than it's ever been, or my skin is clearer than it's ever been, or my cold sores are going away, or whatever it was. They would have better results than when they were taking their medication by itself. So eventually I got a little cocky. And by the way, this is 1986. There weren't health food stores everywhere. You were still a health nut if you were using nutritional supplementation. And so I got a little cocky and I started recommending people use nutrients instead of their medication, not with their medication. And long story short, Kmart Pharmacy, which is a department store here in the United States where I was working, wasn't exactly thrilled with Pharmacist Ben telling patients not to use their medication, and I ended up getting fired. But what I did was I started my own pharmacy. I started a nutritional pharmacy. It was a dermatology pharmacy that focused on nutrition because my background was skin. And that was back in 1989, the late 1980s. And now, 35 years later, I can't even believe it, I've spent the last 3.5 decades studying nutrition hardcore. At the end of the day, I'm a pharmacist, and my job is to help people. And my job is to help people by using molecules that come from the outside and interact with the inside, and to do it in as gentle and as non-toxic a fashion. And that's why I consider myself a nutritional pharmacist. Last thing I want to say about the power of nutrients as opposed to medications involves a concept called pleiotropy. Pleiotropy refers to multifunctionality. One of the things I absolutely love about nutritional supplementation is their multifunctionality, their pleiotropy. The fact that they've got all kinds of benefits. So you take your vitamin C for your cardiovascular issues, your cardiovascular disease or congestive heart failure. Make no mistake about it, vitamin C is very important for the vascular system, for the cardiovascular system, and for the heart. And you get benefits for your skin, and you get benefits for your adrenal glands, and you get benefits for your thyroid. And you get benefits for your liver and detoxification. You get multiple benefits. You're taking your vitamin C for your heart, but you get benefits for a whole slew of other organ systems and bodily processes in a non-toxic fashion. There's no drug that can do that. And on top of all that, you can get your own nutritional supplements from Longevity or online or wherever. You don't have to go interact with the pharmacy, the doctor, and your insurance company. It is strictly a no-brainer for somebody who's dedicated to helping patients using medicine, if you want to use that word, and I use that term loosely. I'm not about drug medicine. I'm talking about medicinal intervention, which includes food and herbs and plants and nutritional supplements. It's an absolute no-brainer to use God's medicine instead of man's medicine, and that's what the mighty 90 essential nutrients are. And that's why I call myself a nutritional pharmacist, and that's how I made the transition from selling drugs to recommending and suggesting and working with nutritional supplements.